Dracula, the hell of the badass of the night. Vampires and Dracula were so badass back in the day. The thought of a human being able to turn into a bat, but also to just basically be this badass of the night. I mean, having Dracula's powers would be amazing until they made him very weak with all these weaknesses, and then Twilight came out, and then oh my god, you almost kind of gotta feel sorry for vampires. Would you believe it that they're actually based off of this evil man named Vlad the Impaler? Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know a lot of, but I do know that he would stick his victims' ass first through stakes, so it'll come up through his mouth. Sorry for putting that in your head, but I mean, it's true. I think it deserves that title. But given that cartoons have also existed for a long time, that there have been lots of tropes and parodies of Dracula, and I mean way beyond like Count Chocula and Count Shrek, than the Count from Sesame Street. I want to look at some of mine, at least, personal favorite vampires from cartoons, or reminiscent of them. Number 3, The Simpsons. Treehouse of Horror is something I don't know anymore. Anyways, I'm not talking about that Twilight parody that was goofy but in a twisty kind of way. I'm talking about the very first Treehouse of Horror, or one of the very first Treehouse of Horrors, so you obviously know it's good, where Mr. Burns is the vampire. This is a very underrated one in my opinion, as well as being a very much more funnier one than I remember, with countless gags. I don't know if it's just me too, by the way. I also found that scene of Mr. Burns in the sky, like, fading, as simple and minuscule as it may seem, to be really cool. Is that associated with the vampire in any way? Plus, it just reminds you of how good old Simpsons used to be. And it has, like, tons of inside jokes from my family, because, you know, it deserves. Ooh, The Witches of Langardry Street, the American Dad episode where Steve and his friends get into witchcraft, and in your typical American Dad twisted and borderline just wrong kind of humor, it's a lot more of a violent and gory take. Witchcraft, really, because that's the whole entire thing they're really experimenting with. These little, you know, curses and stuff that are basically like life hacks to them. But Steve gets carried away with them and becomes, like, I guess, basically the ultimate or main embodiment of, like, the head vampire because of how evil he is. There's, like, tons of random and just bizarre moments in this episode, but it's what makes it all the more better. I'm not gonna front with y'all, I don't even watch so many episodes of American Dad, but I still had a blast watching this. I also love the stereotypical, almost kind of vampire gear they give them, make them look like something I got for Clavius Satin. And the fact that it's with Steve and his geeky friends, like, the stigmatypes, man, they just mix together. It makes me a little surprised that a story like this hasn't been done before, at least not in this degree. Although, it is very bloody, you might not want to, you won't watch it.
Dad! Ah! Dracula family, a bunch of nerds!
Dracula from Billy and Mandy. One of the funniest depictions of the Dracula character, ironically enough, was in Billy and Mandy, and they did it the most uniquely, without a doubt, especially for a children's show. You'll notice instantly that, how do I shoot this? He's not your stereotypical depiction of a vampire. In fact, I'd say he's a more to-date version of what a vampire is, because a vampire can be any race, but more than that, he scrapes and licks. Plus, he gives out his tips does for money. This is so suave. He was pulling and making money off simps before it was even cool. I don't even know if it's ever explained why we get this version of Dracula in a series like Billy and Mandy, which is known for its black comedy. So you would think a character like Dracula would be, like, at the very least menacing in appearance, but we get this suave, just dope, cool Dracula, because he's still Dracula. He's just not the stereotypical Dracula. He says so himself. He ain't wear that cape since 1982. Of course, there are tons of other portrayals of Dracula, vampires, and really even just bats in general, all across media and cartoons and animation as a whole. But then we'd be here for way too long. And the last video I made, that was 9 minutes, revolving the Darkest reboots, got blocked multiple times because that footage I used from that show Planet Sheen. You know your network's bad when you have to protect your one and only show that gets views, and only for the memes, which means it's not even that funny by itself. God damn, Paramount Plus sucks. Anyways, because of that, right? Yeah, I'm still pissed off about that. I spent the whole day, I was terminally online, editing that video and, like, looking up feedback just for it to get turned down and blocked. 3 separate times. Even though I thought it was the music and I took some footage out, they still didn't allow it. I know I used a lot of footage from Paramount Plus, but still, why this one out of all of them? Anyways, let me know what your favorite depictions of Dracula in animation are, or even just in general. I'd love to hear it. Make sure you subscribe because I'd really appreciate it, and yeah.